The sky over Xylan 3 was always gray. No birds, no blue sky, only thick clouds that never moved. In the middle of this sad planet stood a market full of humans and aliens, all busy with their own troubles. Among them walked Vela, an alien woman with blue skin and long silver hair. Her hands held tightly the small hand of her daughter, Alira. Alira was only 7 years old. But there was something strange about her. She never smiled. Her green eyes were empty, always looking down at the ground. Her face, small and pale, looked almost like a doll's, beautiful but lifeless. Her lips stayed closed. No words. No sound, nothing. It had been 3 years since Alira spoke her last word. That was the day her father, Vela's mate, had died in the human-alien war. Since that terrible day, Alira's smile was lost. Vela moved carefully through the market, feeling the cold stares of humans around her. They didn't like aliens here. Whispers followed them wherever they walked. Why bring a freak child here? Look, the silent one again, ... Humans should come first. Vela ignored them, holding her daughter tighter. She walked to a fruit stall and pointed at a small red fruit. The seller, a human man with a rough face, frowned at her. "Payment?" he asked. Vela opened her cloth bag and showed a few small coins. "Not enough." "No," the seller said harshly. "Not for aliens." Vela's heart sank. She pulled Alira close and turned to leave. Her stomach was empty. Alira hadn't eaten in 2 days. But what could she do? That's when a voice behind her spoke. "Wait." Quay turned slowly. A human man stood there. Not like the others, his clothes were dusty, simple. His face had a rough beard, but his eyes were kind. He picked up the same red fruit and handed it to the seller. "Put it on my account," he said. Then he held it out toward Vela. "For your daughter." Vela froze. Alira hid behind her mother, peeking out with wide eyes. "Why?" Vela asked quietly, her voice shaking. "Why would a human give us anything?" The man only smiled gently. "No child should be hungry." For a long moment, Vela didn't move. Her heart battled inside her fear, shame, anger, confusion. But her daughter's tiny hand squeezed her robe. Vela slowly reached out and took the fruit. "Thank you, ... she whispered. The man gave a small nod. "Name's Ethan," he said before walking away into the crowd. Vela watched him go, wondering, was this a trick? Humans never helped aliens here. Is he just pretending? That night, Vela sat inside her old cloth tent with Alira. The fruit was cut into thin pieces so it would last longer. Alira ate in silence, but her eyes looked a little different now. Like maybe there was a small light somewhere deep inside. While Vela tried to sleep, she kept thinking about the man named Ethan. Why would he care about them? The next day, Vela went back to the market. Again, she had no money. But again, Ethan was there, this time leaning against a wall, watching quietly. He didn't speak, didn't come close. But later, Vela found a small cloth bag left near her tent. Inside were some dry bread, 2 bottles of water, and another red fruit. Alira saw it first. Her small hand touched the fruit gently, eyes wide as if touching treasure. Day after day, this kept happening. Ethan never forced them to speak. He only helped from a distance. Sometimes Vela caught him looking at them, always calm, never smiling too much, never angry. Slowly, very slowly, Vela's heart started to feel confused. Could there really be a kind human in this cruel world? One night, as cold wind blew hard, outside their tent, Vela held Alira close. The cloth walls shook like they would fall apart. Suddenly, a hand pulled the flap open. Vela jumped back in fear, ready to grab a rock and fight. But it was Ethan, standing there with ropes and sticks in his hand. His voice was calm. Your tent's falling apart. Let me help." Vela wanted to say no. She wanted to shout, "Leave us alone." But her voice wouldn't come. Alira was watching. Her daughter, always so silent, was watching carefully. Ethan stepped in, fixing the tent walls quietly. No big talk, no loud words. Just helping. When he finished, Vela finally found her voice. "Why?" She asked again, her voice shaking. "Why do you help us? What do you want from me, from my daughter?" Ethan's answer was simple. "I don't want anything. I just don't like seeing children hungry." Outside, the wind blew harder. But inside the tent, for the first time in years, Vela felt something warm, a small spark of trust. She looked at her daughter. Alira was holding the red fruit again, and for a moment, Vela thought, ... maybe Alira's lips moved. Just a little, like she almost smiled. The next morning, the sky was full of ash-gray clouds again. Cold wind swept through the broken streets of the alien human city. Vela walked outside the tent, holding her daughter Alira's hand tightly, for the first time in weeks. There was a small bag of bread and fruit waiting just outside the tent flap. Vela looked around carefully. No one in sight. Only one person could have left it. Ethan. She picked it up and gave a small piece to Alira. The girl, as always, ate slowly, eyes watching everything. But something had changed. Alira's eyes now followed the doorway, looking outside, searching, ... as if she expected to see that kind human again. That day, Vela took Alira back to the market. Their money was still little. Vela wasn't sure why she went back, but deep inside, she knew she wanted to see Ethan again. When they reached the market, there he was. Ethan stood near the same fruit stall, hands in his pockets, quietly looking at people. But today, something was different. Ethan wasn't alone. 3 human men in dark jackets stood around him. Their faces looked hard, dangerous. Vela's heart squeezed tight. Trouble. One man pushed Ethan lightly on the shoulder. "Why you helping aliens, huh? You forget where you're from, human?" Ethan said nothing. His face stayed calm. But Vela could see tension in his body. Another man grabbed Ethan's shirt. "Don't act like a hero. It's bad for your health." Vela's breath caught in her throat. She pulled Alira back into the shadows. They shouldn't get involved. It wasn't their fight. But Alira didn't look away. Her wide green eyes stared at Ethan. She gripped her mother's sleeve tightly, as if saying, "Don't leave him." For a moment, Vela's mind raced. What could she do? She was just an alien woman, weak, unwanted. But then she stepped forward. "Stop." Her voice was clear, louder than she expected. The human men turned. Surprise. Ethan also looked at her. His eyes showed no fear, only surprise. "What do you want, alien?" One man sneered. Vela's heart pounded, but she forced herself to speak again. "He helped us. Leave him alone." The men laughed cruelly. "Or what? You'll cry at us." Before Vela could say anything more, Ethan raised his hand. "It's all right," he said quietly. "Go back." But Alira stepped out from behind her mother. For the first time, she stood in front of strangers without hiding her face. Everyone froze. The silent girl was no longer hiding. Her small face was serious, eyes full of quiet strength. The moment stretched long. Finally, one of the men spat on the ground and stepped back. "Forget it. Not worth it." They left. Vela let out a shaky breath. Ethan stood up straight again, dusting his shirt. His eyes met Vela's. "You didn't have to do that," he said quietly. Vela shook her head. "You helped us. We ... We couldn't just watch." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Ethan said, "Come. There's a better place to buy food." Against all logic, against all fear, Vela followed him. Alira walked quietly beside her, holding her hand. Ethan led them to a smaller shop in the quiet part of the market. Here, the human owner gave them no angry looks, just simple trade. Ethan bought some fruit, some bread, a bottle of clean water. He didn't say much, didn't ask questions about Vela's past, or Alira's silence. When they returned to Vela's tent, Ethan helped her set the food down. Then he stood there. For a moment, looking around. "This place isn't safe," he said quietly. "That gang won't forget today." Vela knew he was right. But where else could they go? As if reading her mind, Ethan knelt down so he was eye level with Alira. He didn't touch her. Just spoke softly. "Don't worry. I'll help keep you safe." Alira's green eyes met his. Slowly, so slowly, her lips moved. Not words yet, but close. That night, after Ethan left, Vela sat with Alira by a small fire inside the tent. She watched her daughter carefully. "Ali, Ra, ... Why did you step out today?" she asked softly. Alira didn't answer, but her hand moved, resting lightly on her mother's hand, for the first time in years. Vela saw it, a tiny, barely there, smile on her daughter's face. It wasn't much, but it was the beginning of something new. Outside, in the darkness, Vela spotted a small shape standing far away near the market lights. Ethan, still watching, a stranger's kindness, had started to change everything. That night, the air felt colder than usual. Clouds covered the moon, making everything dark and quiet. Vela sat inside her tent with Alira, holding her daughter close. Alira's small fingers were wrapped around a piece of bread Ethan had given them earlier. But she wasn't eating. She was listening. Outside, there was no sound, no wind, no footsteps. Just silence, until suddenly a loud voice echoed from the distance. "Get him! Don't let him run!" Vela's heart jumped. She pushed open the tent flap just a little and peeked outside. Across the empty market, she saw dark shapes moving fast, humans running after someone. Then she saw him dot. Ethan, he was running, but his steps were slow. Blood stained his shirt. His shoulder looked badly hurt. Behind him, the same gang from before chased him with metal sticks and flashing electric rods. Alira moved to the tent opening, her big green eyes watching quietly. Vela grabbed her daughter's arm. "No, Alira, stay inside," she whispered. But Alira didn't move back. Her eyes locked onto Ethan as if she couldn't look away. Vela felt torn. Her mind screamed to stay hidden. Humans wouldn't care if Ethan died. They might even blame the aliens. But her heart wouldn't let her stand still. She remembered Ethan fixing their tent, bringing them food, speaking gently to her silent daughter. With a deep breath, Vela stepped outside. Her feet hit the cold ground. The wind brushed her face. She ran forward. "Stop!" she shouted, her voice echoing in the dark. The gang members turned. One of them laughed. Well. The alien lady again. Looking for trouble? Vela's voice shook, but she forced herself to speak again. "Leave him alone, please." One of the men pointed an electric rod at her. The blue sparks at its tip made Vela step back. "Go back to your tent, alien. This is human business." Ethan, breathing hard, looked at her from the ground. Blood dripped from his lip. His eyes still held calmness even now. "Go, Vela," he said weakly. "Don't get hurt." But before Vela could answer, there was a sudden, sharp sound. "Mother." The voice was small, soft, but clear. Everyone froze. Vela turned slowly. Alira stood there, outside the tent, barefoot. Her small hands were clenched into fists. Her green eyes were full of something new, fear, but also courage. "Mother," Alira said again. The gang leader frowned. "That's the freak kid," he muttered. One man stepped toward Alira. Vela's heart stopped. "No," she screamed. She ran to stand in front of her daughter, but Alira didn't hide. She stepped forward beside her mother, staring at the men. Her tiny voice spoke again. "Leave him alone." The gang member hesitated. For a moment, the whole world felt frozen. A silent alien child. Speaking, the leader cursed under his breath. "Forget it. This isn't worth the trouble." He waved his hand. The men backed away, disappearing into the shadows. Ethan tried to sit up, breathing hard. Vela ran to him, helping him stand. You shouldn't have done that," Ethan said with a faint smile. "It's dangerous." Vela shook her head. Her voice was steady now. "You helped us first. We couldn't let you face it alone." For a long moment, Ethan said nothing. He looked down at Alira. Alira, still standing there bravely, didn't look away. Ethan knelt down slowly. "Thank you," he whispered to her. And then a small thing happened. Alira reached out her hand. Gently, she touched Ethan's arm. Her face was still serious. But her lips curved, just slightly. A real smile. Vela felt her heart fill with warmth and tears at the same time. Her silent girl was silent no more. But danger wasn't finished. Ethan's injury was serious. "We need to get him help," Vela said quickly. "Where?" Ethan asked weakly. "Humans won't treat me now." Vela thought fast. Her mind raced. "There's an old healer on the edge of the alien quarter. She might help." Ethan tried to protest, but Vela didn't listen. With one arm supporting him and the other holding Alira's hand, she led them both into the night. The sky above was dark and heavy, but Vela's heart felt different now, for the first time in years. She wasn't walking alone. The night air was sharp and cold as Vela walked, holding Ethan up with one arm and Alira's hand with the other. Ethan's steps were slow. His blood left dark drops on the cracked street stones. They could not go to any human hospital. Humans helping aliens was already dangerous. And now, a human helping aliens like Ethan was worse. There was only one place left. An old healer's home, hidden deep in the alien quarter. A place where no human patrols dared to enter. Alira stayed silent beside her mother, her small green eyes full of quiet strength. For the first time in years, she wasn't hiding behind Vela's robes. When they finally reached the healer's home, the building looked half broken. The walls were made of old metal and wood. A dim blue light flickered inside. Vela knocked 3 times. An old alien woman opened the door. Her skin was purple and wrinkled, her eyes glowing faint gold. "Vela," she said slowly, "you bring trouble." "Please," Vela whispered. "He helped us. He needs care." The old healer's sharp golden eyes looked at Ethan. Her mouth tightened. "A human." Before Vela could answer, Alira stepped forward. She didn't say anything, but she stood in front of Ethan, as if guarding him. Her small hand touched Ethan's arm gently. The healer's eyes softened. "Come in," she said finally. Quickly, inside, the room smelled of herbs and smoke. Strange glowing plants grew in corners. The healer laid Ethan down on a soft bed made from animal skins. She worked in silence. Her hands moved fast, cleaning the wounds, stitching the cuts with thread that glowed softly under her touch. Vela knelt beside Ethan, holding his hand tightly. Alira sat on the other side, watching every movement. Hours passed. The healer finally stood back. "He will live," she said, "but he must rest. 2 days, maybe 3. Vela let out a slow breath she didn't know she was holding. "Thank you," she whispered. The healer only nodded. When the healer left him alone, the room became quiet again. A soft blue light lit Ethan's face as he slept. Vela looked down at Alira. who was still sitting beside Ethan's bed. "Alira," Vela said softly, "you spoke last night. You told those men to leave." Alira nodded slowly. Her small hand touched Ethan's again. "Why?" Vela asked gently. "Why now?" Alira's lips moved. Her voice came out small but clear. "Because he didn't look afraid." Vela's eyes filled with tears. Her daughter, silent for years, was finally waking up inside. And it was because of a human. A stranger who had shown them simple kindness. The next morning, Ethan opened his eyes. His voice was weak. "Where?" "Safe." Vela said softly, "You're safe." Ethan tried to sit up, but Vela placed her hand on his chest. "Don't move." Alira stood close now, holding a cup of water. Carefully, she offered it to Ethan. Her hand trembled slightly, but her eyes stayed steady. Ethan smiled faintly. "Thank you, little one." For the first time, Alira gave a small smile back. Ethan drank slowly, then looked at Vela. His eyes were serious now. "They'll come for me," he said. "The patrols, the gang, they find me here." "I know," Vela said quietly. Her voice was calm now, stronger than before. "But we'll figure it out." Ethan studied her face. "You're not afraid anymore." Vela shook her head. "I can't be. Not with Alira. Starting to live again." Outside in the broken streets, human patrols had already begun searching. Loudspeaker drones floated through the air. Human citizen Ethan Voss. Wanted for assisting illegal aliens. Report immediately. But inside that small healer's room, none of that noise mattered. For a moment, there was peace. Later that evening, as the sky turned red and gold, Vela stood by the window, watching the street. Alira sat beside Ethan, quietly drawing shapes in the dust with her fingers. Circles, stars, smiles. Ethan watched her. Eyes soft. "She's different now," he said. "Yes," Vela replied, "because of you." Ethan shook his head slowly. "No, because she found her own courage." For a long moment, there was silence between them. Then Vela asked, "Why did you really help us, Ethan, from the first day? Why?" Ethan's answer was simple. "Because I lost someone once. A little sister. Years ago, during the First War, I couldn't save her." He looked at Alira. "I couldn't save my own family. But maybe I could help someone else's." Vela's heart felt tight. She understood now. It wasn't just about kindness. It was about healing, for both of them. That night, as stars finally broke through the gray sky, Vela made a decision. When Ethan was strong enough, they would leave this city together, not as strangers, but as something else, a family. The city's sky glowed with warning lights at night. Human patrol drones floated everywhere, shining white beams down into the streets. But inside the small healer's house, it was calm. Ethan lay on a simple bed, bandages wrapped around his shoulder. Vela sat beside him, her hand resting gently on his arm. Alira, as always, stayed close, her green eyes, watching quietly. It had been 2 days. Ethan was healing. His color had returned, his voice was stronger. But his mind was restless. "We can't hide here forever," he said quietly. "They'll find me, and you." Vela knew he was right. They could already hear the patrol speakers calling his name. Every morning, still, ... She didn't want to leave yet. Something important was happening here, that morning. Alira did something new. For the first time since arriving, she went outside by herself. Vela found her sitting on the step just outside the door, watching small, glowing bugs float through the air. Vela knelt beside her. "Are you okay, little one?" Alira didn't answer. Her hand reached out slowly, catching one of the tiny, glowing bugs. The light made her face shine softly in the dark. Vela felt something warm inside her chest. Her daughter was changing, slowly waking up. When they went back inside, Alira walked straight to Ethan, and then Something even more surprising happened. Alira sat beside Ethan and pulled out a small piece of cloth. In it was a red fruit. The same kind Ethan had given them days ago. Alira held it up to Ethan. Her voice was soft, but clear. "For you?" Ethan's eyes widened. He took the fruit gently. "Thank you." Vela watched the moment with quiet amazement. Our silent daughter, offering kindness on her own. That afternoon, the healer spoke to Vela in private. "It's not safe for you here anymore. You must leave." "I know," Vela said quietly. "But where?" The healer's golden eyes glowed faintly in the shadows. "There is a place. A village hidden far from here. Humans and aliens live together there. It's dangerous to get there, ... but it exists." Vela thought for a long time. That night, after Ethan fell asleep, she sat by the small fire with Alira. "Do you remember your father?" Vela asked gently. Alira nodded slowly. Her voice came out very quiet. His smile. Vela closed her eyes for a moment. Then she opened them again, full of new strength. "We'll go," she whispered. "We'll leave this city together." The next morning, Ethan woke to find Vela already packing. "What's happening?" he asked. "We're leaving," Vela said. "There's a village. We can't stay here." Ethan sat up slowly. His face showed quiet understanding. "All right," he said. "Then let's go." Before they left, Vela stood with Alira by the healer's door. "Thank you," she told the old woman. The healer only nodded once. "Take care of the little one," she said. Her smile, ... is rare in this world. As they walked out into the city, Vela's heart beat fast. Drones still floated overhead. Patrol soldiers marched in groups. They moved carefully through back streets. Staying in shadows, at one point, a patrol stopped nearby. Vela pulled Alira close, hiding behind an old wall. Ethan pressed his back against the bricks, eyes sharp and ready. The soldiers passed by. For a moment, no one breathed. Then Ethan gave Vela a small smile. "Close one," he whispered. They kept moving until finally, the sun began to rise. They reached the outer edge of the city. Before them stretched a wide desert of red sand and stone. It looked endless. But Vela didn't feel afraid. Not now, because as she glanced down at her daughter, Alira was smiling. A real, full smile. Her green eyes shone bright as she looked up at her mother. "We're free now?" she asked softly. Vela knelt down and hugged her tight. "Yes," she whispered. "We're free now." Ethan stood nearby, watching them quietly. For the first time in many years, he felt something like peace inside his heart. They weren't just running anymore. They were moving toward something new. A life where humans and aliens could be family, where even silent girls could learn to smile again. And as the sun rose higher, bathing the red sands in golden light, the three of them began walking together where the viewers waited for them next. The red desert, stretched out like a sea without water. Vela, Ethan, and Alira walked slowly, their feet sinking into soft sand. Behind them, the city grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared into the horizon. The sun above was hot, but the wind carried a cold bite. Vela held Alira's hand tightly, her other hand steadying Ethan whenever he stumbled. His injury wasn't fully healed yet, but he refused to rest. "I'm fine," Ethan said more than once. But Vela could see the pain in his face. Still, they kept moving. For hours, they walked in silence. Only the sound of their footsteps, the wind, Alira's soft breathing. But that silence didn't last. Late in the afternoon, as the sky turned a pale gold color, Vela heard a sharp humming sound in the air. She stopped. Ethan turned his head, slowly, frowning. "That's not the wind, ... Then they saw it. A patrol drone, floating just above a rock formation nearby. Its bright blue lights scanned the ground. "They're searching already," Ethan said, voice tight. "Run, Vela," whispered. There was no choice. They ran. Vela lifted Alira in her arms, pressing her daughter close. Sand kicked up behind them. Ethan kept pace beside them, his breath rough in his chest. The drone followed, lights flashing faster now. It wasn't alone. Another 2 drones joined it, moving like metal birds hunting their prey. "We have to find cover," Ethan shouted. "There," Vela pointed. Up ahead, hidden between 2 tall rock pillars, was the entrance to a cave, dark and wide. They pushed themselves harder. Vela's legs burned from the effort. Lyra clung to her, face hidden against her mother's neck. Ethan stumbled once, but didn't fall. Finally, they reached the cave. The moment they stepped inside, the drone lights passed overhead, missing them by just seconds. Inside, the cave was cool and silent. Echoes of their breathing bounced off the stone walls. They moved deeper in until only a faint light from the entrance remained. Vela gently set Alira down. Her arms ached, but she said nothing. Ethan leaned against the wall, closing his eyes for a moment. Silence returned. Only now, it wasn't peaceful, it was heavy with tension. For a while, no one spoke. Then, Alira's voice broke the quiet. "Are we safe now?" she asked softly. Ethan opened his eyes and smiled weakly. "For now." Vela knelt beside her daughter, brushing sand from her hair. Her own hands shook slightly, but she hid it. "We'll keep moving after dark," she said. "It's safer." Hours passed. They rested as best they could. Ethan shared small pieces of dried food from his bag. Alira ate slowly, her eyes thoughtful. When night fell, the desert outside turned silver under the light of 2 moons. Vela stood first. Time to move. They stepped out of the cave carefully. The drones were gone. The air felt clearer. They walked again. This time under moonlight, something about the night felt different. Quieter, calmer. Ethan walked beside Vela, his voice low. "You know," he said, "back on Earth, I hated silence. It meant something bad was coming." Vela looked at him, her face calm. "Here, I think silence means peace," she replied. Ethan chuckled quietly. "Maybe you're right." Alira walked just behind them, her small hand resting against Vela's back. She wasn't silent anymore. Sometimes she would hum softly. A simple tune one her father used to sing long ago. They kept moving all night until dawn, and as the first rays of sunlight touched the horizon, they saw it far away. Like a mirage in the heat, a village. Small homes made from stone and metal scraps. Smoke rising from cooking fires. And people, humans and aliens walking together. Vela stopped, her heart pounding. Ethan stepped up beside her, shading his eyes with one hand. "That's it," he said quietly. "We found it." Lyra looked up at her mother, her face bright with something new, hope. Vela knelt down, pulling Alira into a tight hug. "We made it," she whispered. "We really made it." They stood there for a long moment, watching the village come to life in the morning light. A place where maybe, just maybe, they could finally rest. Where Alira's smile could stay, and where a human, an alien mother and her silent daughter could start over together. The village welcomed them quietly. No loud greetings, no stares. Humans and aliens live side by side here, and no one seemed surprised to see Vela, Ethan, and little Alira walk through the gates. The first person who spoke to them was an old, human man with dark skin and kind eyes. "You're not from here," he said simply. "We're looking for a place to stay," Vela replied, her voice steady. The man looked them over, an injured human, an alien woman, and a small alien girl. Holding tightly to her mother's hand, he only nodded. "Everyone here is running from something. Follow me." That's how it began. A small home made from stone and old ship metal was given to them. It wasn't big, but it had walls, a roof, and a place to sit by the fire. Ethan rested. His shoulder healed fully over the next weeks. Vela found work helping care for children in the village, alien and human both. But it was Alira who changed the most. Each morning, she woke up before the sun and stood outside, watching the sky turn gold. Her green eyes were bright now, no longer full of shadows. One morning, as Vela prepared food, Ethan stepped up beside her. "She's different now," he said, smiling gently. "She's learning to live." Vela agreed later that day, as the village worked together fixing a broken water tank. A stranger approached, a patrol scout. He wore human military clothes but had a white flag in his hand. Ethan stepped forward first, his face calm. "What do you want?" The scout removed his helmet, showing tired eyes. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "Word reached us about this village. We know some humans here helped aliens. Some aliens helped humans." The villagers gathered, tense. The scout raised his voice. "We've lost too many in the war. But things are changing. Orders are changing. If you want peace, now's the time." Ethan glanced at Vela, then at Alira, who stood quietly by her mother's side. He spoke clearly. "We already chose peace. We don't want war anymore." The scout looked around the village, then nodded once. "Then we won't bother you. Keep living quietly." He left without a fight. That night, the village held a quiet celebration. No big music, no bright lights, just small fires and shared food. Vela sat beside Ethan, Lyra curled up in her lap, her eyes sleepy but content. Ethan spoke softly, his voice serious but warm. "I never thought I'd have this." Vela tilted her head. "What?" "A family," Ethan said. "Not the one I was born with, but the family I chose." Vela looked down at Alira, gently brushing her silver hair. "I understand now," she said. Blood doesn't make family. Love does." For a while, they sat quietly, watching the fire burn low. Then, Alira opened her eyes and spoke clear and steady now. "Mother, Ethan. I'm happy." Vela's heart felt full. She hugged her daughter close, her eyes shining with quiet tears. Ethan placed his hand gently on both of them. No more running. No more fear. Only peace. And in that quiet, under stars that stretched across the black sky, one human and two aliens sat together, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as family.